Hello and welcome to Meet the Expert. My name's Daniel and I'm regretfully fungible.
And I'm Craig, and I'm extremely volatile and largely unregulated.
Today it's your chance to meet two experts from Scotland's quickly growing fintech sector. You'll hear about what they've been up to and what they've been working on, and you're going to get to ask the questions that you want answered. And you're going to be able to find out more about this interesting area.
So, fintech, or financial technology, is when we use technology to improve the way that we save, spend, and manage our money. Now, that might be better apps to see our bank accounts, or clever tools that automatically invest money, or even technology to help spot financial fraud.
According to Fintech Scotland, there's over 190 fintech companies based in Scotland, and only 4 years ago there were 30. By 2030, it's expected there's going to be 15,000 brand new jobs created in fintech in Scotland. These jobs are going to take lots of different shapes, but technology skills like programming, networking, and data science will be important in lots of these roles.
And that's why fintech employers are calling out for people with digital skills. And in the future, they'll be looking out for even more. So when it comes to a career in fintech, there are opportunities for everyone.
We're going to be speaking to Kent and Amelie about what it takes to work in this exciting area. But before we do that, let's give a few of you watching some shout outs, and thanks for sending in your questions.
Yeah, Daniel, we've got quite a few people joining us today, so we should give a few shout outs while they send in the questions. Hello to Douglas Ewart High School, thank you for joining us today. Hello to Denny High School, thank you for joining us as well. What else can you see, Daniel?
I can see that Selkirk High School, you're tuning in today. Thank you for joining. And I can see we've got Redwell Primary School also taking part so far.
Daniel, we've also got some colleges and universities joining today. So hello to those joining us from West Lothian College. Hello, thanks for joining. And Fife College as well. And also the University of Sunderland, Daniel, as well. So if you haven't yet, you can send us a question by going to this URL at the bottom of the screen. So it's tinyurl.com/askexpertfintech, or you can scan the QR code.
Craig, we've had loads of questions come in already, but keep them coming for Kent and Amelie. Teachers and adults, you can tweet and let us know how you're getting on. You could send us a photo of your class or group. The way to do that is to use the handle down below. It's at Digital World HQ. Let's get started.
Hello, Ken, and welcome to our Meet the Expert session. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hey, listen, thank you, and thank you so much for asking me. I'm delighted to be here. I hope you can hear me okay, so just give me a nod if there's any problems with my sound. But yeah, thanks for having me.
That sounds good. Yeah, we can hear you fine here now. So let's start by talking a bit about your job. What is your job? What is it you do?
Yeah, listen, great question. So I essentially look after what we call clients, so big financial services organizations, those that you'll be familiar with on the high street. I help them understand how they may use disruptive forms of technology, also known as fintech. So I kind of help them grapple with not just the tech side of it, but what does it mean in terms of how they can leverage it for their customers? What does it mean internally? How they get to grips with some of the exciting forms of technology that are out there.
Sounds great. So we'll start with some easy questions for you here, Kent. So what we're going to do is fill out your fintech profile. So these are the types of questions we ask to all our guests. Because we're talking about finance technology, the questions are going to be about saving, spending, and investing. Okay. So my first question is, what was something that you saved for when you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager, so I remember saving for what felt like a very, very long time to buy a new stereo, hi-fi, they used to call it in the day. It took me a long time. It was a series of 20p's and 50p's going into like a wee kind of container thing. And eventually at the end of a very long summer, I was able to buy this new stereo system that I'd had my heart set on.
And I bet you appreciated it even more by saving up for it.
Loved it.
Excellent. And what about nowadays, if we're thinking about spending, what's a treat that you like to spend on?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I've got 3 kids, so I don't really get much time to save and spend on myself. I do have, though, a little bit of a kind of dirty habit around buying white trainers. I really like. In fact, I've got here on right now. I kind of spend too much money on silly white trainers, and I think in some attempt to remain youthful. That's probably where I spend a bit of my money. My guilty pleasure these days.
That's great. I like that idea of a dirty habit of clean trainers. Sounds like a good tagline. So yeah, it's good to spend as well. And lastly, what would you say has been a good investment for you? So something that maybe you bought, or something you built, or something you've spent time learning.
I think, I read a lot, and I think investing time in learn. It's a bit of a cheesy answer, but I mean it. Continuing to learn. I'm what you'd call a lifelong learner. I'm inquisitive, and I like to read, and I read lots of different types of things. So I suppose it's not a monetary investment, but an investment in how I just kind of stay present and stay aware of some of the trends and things that are going on. I do that through reading. So I invest a lot of the little free time I've got, quite frankly, but I invest that in reading.
Great. Sounds great. So we've got a little infographic that I'm going to bring up on the screen just now. So we always ask our guests, tell us a bit about a project that you've been involved in. And you've got this infographic here, which is about the Fintech for Schools program.
Yep.
And I can see you in the top left of that as well, and your little cartoon character. Can you tell me a bit about this initiative? How did you get involved?
Yeah, sure. And it's kind of remarkable how these specialists that write all this stuff draw all this stuff can depict me in a little, and it does look incredibly like me. Everything with the furrowed brow and the bushy eyebrows. It's brilliant. But this initiative was all about, we spent a lot of time thinking about how do we make sure that the next generation of talent is really aware of what fintech is and how fintech can be sort of brought to the fore, how you might think about a career in fintech, what does it actually mean? So we'd set up this program called Fintech for Schools, which is essentially all about running a course, quite frankly, but quite a fun and engaging course to learn more about fintech. I'm dead passionate about what I do with my clients, but I'm more passionate about what I want to leave in the industry and in terms of the next generation of talent coming through. So this program was designed to really help and guide school folks through that the murky world of fintech.
Brilliant. So yeah, if you're a teacher and you're watching this just now, you could find out more about that program presumably through, is it the Deloitte website? Do they have it on there?
Yeah, we do. There's a whole space. We can put URLs and things out to the group and the communities, but there's a whole space that sort of showcases this program. We also have an app. We've created an app that supports the program. We bring in experts, Amelie and various others from around the network. We can bring experts in to give kind of real world experiences too. So yeah, loads of collateral out there if you want to learn a wee bit more about it.
That's brilliant. And obviously this is a great opportunity. If you're a pupil just now and you want to ask a question directly, you can do it using that URL at the bottom. And I'll pass you over to Daniel because I think some people have already been sending stuff in.
Yeah, that's right, Craig. I've been taking a look at all the questions that you've been submitting, so keep them coming. So Ken, this session today is all about the fintech industry. There's a question here coming from Cameron at Denny who's asked, do you like your job? But I'm going to twist it slightly and ask, what is it about the finance and the tech sector that's great to work in? Because I get the impression that you like your job. I think that's a yes.
I love my job. And I kind of serendipitously found my way into this industry. I started pushing spreadsheets around in a bank way back in the early 2000s, maybe even 1998, 1999, and I kind of meandered my way into fintech, but I absolutely love it. And what do I love the most about it? So 3 things. So number 1, I love all the different clients I work with. So I work across financial services. So I work with really small boutique investment firms all the way up to the massive HSBCs, Barclays, Citibank, all that kind of stuff. And every time I meet anybody from those organizations, it's always a different experience. So I love that. I love being right at the cutting edge of technology. So I love really stretching my mind on how technology might apply in this environment. Love that. There isn't a day goes by where I don't kind of read something or see something or listen to something and go, holy shit, that's really, really exciting. And then the third thing that I love is the people that I work with in this firm. This firm is just the most wonderful place to be because you're surrounded by experts. Sorry for my slight use of bad language there.
You were just so excited, Ken. I think we can forgive you.
Sorry.
Ken, is this something that you've always been interested in, like finance or technology, or is it something you've kind of become more interested in over time? What was your kind of route in?
That's a great question. I think I have become. I never went through school and university thinking I'm going to get a job in finance and technology. But then when I found it and I kind of got to know more about it, I just fell in love with it. I did business management at university. I did history and English and languages at school, a bit of maths, so I'm a bit of an everyman. But then when I found this, I just fell in love with it. And I just found that actually, it's one of probably only a couple of things that I think I do pretty well, so that kind of then just feeds the curiosity and the passion.
That leads quite well onto a question we've had from Jenna, who's in S2. And Jenna's asked, is it helpful to be good at maths to work in fintech?
Great question. I suspect I know where it's come from, because I think sometimes there is this perception that you've got to be really good at data science and maths to operate in fintech. No doubt there's a bunch of really strong mathematicians, statisticians, data scientists in fintech, but it's not all about that. So the straight answer to the question is, you don't have to be good at maths. Maths is helpful for anything, right? Maths is an amazing thing, but I got a C in my higher maths, and I now find myself as the global head of fintech at the leading professional services firm. So maybe that helps. I'm not saying go out and get a C. I'm saying go out and get an A, but you don't necessarily need to worry if you do end up getting a C.
I think that's really helpful, isn't it? Because it might be that someone is really interested in this area, but they're worried about certain things, like maybe they don't know that much about the sort of programming or tech side, or maybe they're not as confident in their maths. But as you said, those are things that you can learn as part of the job, as well as what you're studying at school as well.
Yep.
I can see there's loads of questions coming in. Let's go for one more before we bring in Amelie. And Kent, this is always one of the popular questions. This one's coming from Alex in S3, and Alex asks, how much do you get paid in fintech? So, is it a well-paid industry to be in, I guess?
I love it, Alex. You're going to do well. Yeah, you get paid all right. You get paid pretty well, actually. I have no complaints. I'm obviously not going to tell you exactly how much I get paid, but you do all right for yourself. You can buy nice white trainers. You can invest in reading as many books as you like. So yeah, you do well. It's a good and growing industry. Lots of different angles that you can go down as well. You can work for really thriving, pioneering organizations like Amelie. You can work for big four firms like mine. You can work within banking. I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, you would, what I sometimes call perhaps top out, where tech jobs might only take you to a certain level. But I sit on a lot of boards now and executives, and the CTO, the chief technology officer, she or he is often leading the conversation. So quite frankly, you can go on and earn as much as you like. So yeah, don't hold back, Alex. And I love the direct question. You'll need to get me another time if you want me to give you an absolute number, but yeah, you can do all right for yourself. So great question.
Alex can use that as part of a negotiation process if they come to be an apprentice.
Exactly.
Super. Well, thanks for your questions so far, and Kent, thanks for answering them. We're going to be back with some more questions with Kent soon. If you've got questions for Kent, you can send them in that QR code in the bottom right of the screen, so keep sending them in. But for now, let's bring in our next guest, who is Amelie. Hello, Amelie. Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm good too, thanks. So let's start by talking a bit about your job and what it is that you do. So, how would you describe your job? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing director at Zumo, which is a fintech app to manage traditional money and crypto. You can exchange between pound and Bitcoin and Ether easily and securely in just a matter of seconds. and also like spend using like a Visa debit card. So in my job, I'm heading the marketing and communication, and that means that I develop and execute marketing and communication strategy to support the growth ambition of Zumo. That includes building and nurturing people's love for the Zumo brand, continually analyzing who our potential customers are, what their interests are, and how they consume media, so that we can ensure that they find us through implementing multi-channel campaigns. So for example, in our analysis, if we found out that our customers absolutely love gaming and they play Fortnite, what that means is that we're likely to be working with influencers that post video on Twitch when they are playing Fortnite, and later down the line partner with Fortnite to bring some discount in-game with Fortnite. So that's it. Otherwise, my day-to-day is very, very varied. I do a lot of meeting, to be honest, to review the strategy. That is taking up most of my time. I present the strategy and the plan very regularly to a lot of like different people, and also manage a team of 5 brilliant minds who are currently creating and distributing our communication.
It sounds like quite a different sort of scale of company to Deloitte, and I'm sure there's lots of sort of appeals to that as well, like if you're interested in working like a smaller, maybe slightly more sort of agile team. So let's start off, Amelie, with your fintech profile. So you've had a bit of a head start to think about these questions, seeing what Kent said. So these are questions that we ask all of our guests. We want to know something that you save for, something that you like to spend on, and a good investment. So let's start off by asking you, what was something that you saved for when you were a teenager?
I was saving to get my driving license. That was to me really, really what I needed to do, because I really wanted to be independent, and I didn't like my mum driving me around everywhere. So I worked into a clothing store for about a year and a half to be able to pay myself the driving license. And it's quite ironic, because now I'm in London, I actually don't use a car anymore. But yeah.
How about a treat that you like to spend your money on?
Very similar to Kent, actually. I love shoes, any kind of shoes. And I even like recently been looking at shoes that I can wear in the metaverse, which I find fascinating.
So just virtual shoes then, is that then?
Virtual shoes, yeah. Can have a physical representation of it, but you can also wear it in the metaverse.
And they can always be brilliant white. You don't have to be like Kent and spend time cleaning them, making sure that they're
exactly
pristine.
Yeah, they're always clean.
And Amelie, what would you say has been a good investment for you? You know, has it been a product or something you built or spent time on?
To me, a good investment has been the time that I've spent meeting with people in the industry. So the time that I've been like spending, attending events and speaking with a lot of people, because that has allowed me to be in front of many work opportunities at the right time, and it really kicked off my career.
Super. So, Amelie, I first kind of heard about you because you've been doing some really cool trips trying to pay only using cryptocurrencies, and then you were documenting those trips on YouTube. So we've got a clip here of you doing some investigations, I think, before one of these trips on whether shops on the high street will let you pay with Bitcoin. So let's take a look at that.
Oh God. Next is Thomas Cook. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Can I buy a beer with Bitcoin?
With Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I don't know what Bitcoin is.
I don't think anyone accepts Bitcoin in Chichester.
I don't know. No, we don't.
No, sorry.
no, it doesn't look like you had that much luck there. Although, spoiler alert, I saw in some future YouTube videos you did manage to find some shops that accepted Bitcoin. So there was a countdown at the end of that clip there. What was the trip that you were about to take, and what was it you were trying to prove or demonstrate?
Yeah, so that was in 2017 in October. So I participated into a what was called a payments race. So it's very similar. I don't know if anyone has watched that, but a program called Round the World, where you basically travel from one point A to a point B across many different countries, and you've got to do some challenges along the way. So it was very similar, but it was for payments. So that initiative consisted of 5 people, each with one payment method, and we had to travel from Toronto to Las Vegas and complete a set of challenges during that trip. So at the time, I had no idea what Bitcoin was when I signed up to it. To be completely honest, I really threw myself into the deep end there, saying like, let's go. I want to participate in this, and then give me like whatever's the most difficult. So when they gave me Bitcoin, I had to do a huge amount of research on what it was and how I was gonna even like pay with it. So that video is me going around Chichester in the south of England to kind of like gauge a little bit with merchants if they would accept my Bitcoin. So no surprise, no one even knew what Bitcoin was. But that initiative was designed really to see the limitation of using one single payment method. And actually, in the first payments race from Toronto to Las Vegas, like I actually won, which was very, very unlikely. In that payments race, I was clearly like the underdog. No one even believed that I would win a single second. But I really managed to go around because Bitcoin had such a following and people who were so enthusiastic about it that I was able to actually leverage social media and community to get me through loads of like different points and different challenges, which was very good for me, obviously. What I did find out, however, is like not many people accepted Bitcoin. But that has been growing because it was in October 2017. The media didn't really talk about Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Now it's like you can see that it's all over. So now a lot more people have Bitcoin.
That sounds like that project was a great way to combine your communication skills and the marketing stuff that you're interested in alongside new technology too.
Yes, exactly.
Brilliant. So I've got some questions here because people have been sending in questions for you specifically. Mm-hmm. So let's bring a few of them up here. So today's session is about fintech, and you're working in marketing in fintech as well. And we've got a question from Candice in Falkirk, which is basically, how did you get started in the sort of fintech and financial industry? Is that something that you were always interested in, or is it something that came about?
No, so it came about. I always like loved money. I grew up with like loving money, and I had a dream to be very independent from my parents, so money was part of it. I was a bit of a geek. I love like a computer when I was a kid, and games, but finance not really something that was on the card. I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and I came in England to actually learn English because I was part of the cursus. But then I was told that I wouldn't become a fighter pilot because of my health. So I decided to stay here in the UK for university. And then I got so I did a business and marketing degree, which I was also interested in. And as part of the work experience program, I got a job as a editor for a company that was doing a luxury magazine and also marketing. And then through that, I was asked to work on a big commercial proposal to do the marketing for a fintech company. And while I was doing my research, I just really fell in love with the industry and the impact that it's got on our lives. So it affects the way that we shop, the way that we access and build wealth. And this just, I was mesmerized by it, to be honest. And I thought this is definitely something that I want to do. So I carried on marketing and finance, and I specialized myself into it. And there's been no turning back. And since I found Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, even less turning back.
That's brilliant. And you know, one of the challenges that you probably have to do in a communications and marketing role is like explaining new technology to people as well. So, you know, how would you go about explaining something like Bitcoin to, for example, our audience today, which are, you know, teenagers who are probably interested in studying in this area?
Yeah. So, but it really depends, like, of who I'm talking to, how I would go about to explain Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But essentially, cryptocurrency is it can be used to buy things the same way as like traditional currency are, but it's purely digital. So there is no coin or cash for it. The most known cryptocurrency is called Bitcoin, but there is also a number of others that you might have heard of, with one called Dogecoin, Ether. So like normal money, like the British pound and the dollars are controlled by government and banks, but cryptocurrency is not. Instead, they are kept in check on the blockchain. This is how it's being accounted for, and that is kind of very big electronic accounting book that is held on a lot of like different people's computer around the world. So crypto is said to be the future of money, because unlike the traditional currencies, it does not have borders. So that means, so you can use Bitcoin anywhere. So I traveled around the world, in the US, in Canada, in Asia, and in Europe, and all I paid with was Bitcoin. But all the other contenders during that payments race, they had, every single time they crossed the country, they had to exchange the lump of cash that they had to change, so they wouldn't be able like to pay as easily as I was. So yeah, so thanks to my trip, really, like it was hard. I've learned a bit more about Bitcoin. It was hard to pay in Bitcoin back then, but now more and more people are hearing about Bitcoin. The more then it will be like accepted everywhere. So it's been growing with a rate of like 52% year on year, which is quite huge for a new technology.
And that seems like quite a common trend in lots of financial tech, thinking of things like contactless payment or chip and pin, or even cards to begin with. At first, not many people use them, and maybe there's a sense of people not understanding what it does or how it works. But as we get more used to using them and you experience using it, it suddenly becomes like a really natural thing, or people become more confident in it as well. I've got another question for you here from Oliver, and this one is: does everyone in the fintech sector have to have a technology background? I suppose the question is here: what other skills are needed?
Yeah. So yeah, no, not everyone has got a technology background. Like, I'm very much like the proof here. No tech background at all. But there are many skills that are needed in technology. So you need people skills to be able to sell a technology product. You need creative skill to be able to communicate in an interesting way about new technology so people can adopt it. And there are like loads of like other skills. So you've got a whole department that will be looking after customer support. You've got marketing people. So all the skill that you've got into any other industries are needed into the tech industry.
I think that's really good to know, because it could be that, you know, someone has a real interest in graphic design or creative industries, but also has that interested in, maybe they're interested in fintech as well, but knowing that actually you can use those skills to work in those areas, knowing that there's jobs out there, and likely more jobs like that in the future in Scotland too, that you can bring those skills together, I think will be really, really useful for a lot of people. Amelie, this has been brilliant. I think that what we should maybe do is bring in Kent again, Daniel, and then we could all just have a chat together for the last sort of 5 or 10 minutes or so. How does that sound?
Yep, I think that's a really good idea. So let's bring Kent back into the stream. Welcome back, Kent.
Here we are.
Hello.
So these next few questions, we'll treat them more a bit like, I guess, quick fire questions. We've got about 10 minutes left. And let's start by talking a bit about skills. So Amelie, you were just giving us really good answers about the types of skills that would be needed in the fintech industry, whether you're interested in sort of the more engineering side or not. But let's talk a bit about your skills, like what formal courses did you take, or was it a bit more informal you're learning? How did you gain the skills that you need in your job? So Ken, let's go to you first.
So I did a BA honours in business management, but beyond that, I developed my skills through being curious, being inquisitive, being a little bit demanding sometimes on getting to the bottom of an answer. That's kind of how I developed it, and just followed my nose a bit. Inquisitive, curious, surround yourself with great people. That's how you develop the skills. I think qualifications are great, of course, but I would encourage you to kind of do these things, and the skills will come off the back of that.
And you mentioned you read things as well, is to pick up new areas or to understand them better. Do you read, is it books or blogs or
I read
tutorials?
a lot of books, and I alternate between fiction and often autobiography. So I recently just read a science fiction book, which was wonderful. And then I followed it really quickly with a book about an endurance athlete. So from the sublime to the ridiculous. But, I think having that variety is pretty enriching, certainly for me.
And Amelie, how was it that you got your skills? I know you said you went to university in England, but was there anything else that you used to kind of develop your skills when you were kind of moving into this new space of fintech?
It's very similar to Kent, really. I'm very curious as a person, and I love exploring quite a lot of things. So I do read books quite a lot. I do assimilate information more on video. So I'm on all over YouTube video all the time to learn. And because the marketing industry is such a creative, and especially marketing cryptocurrency is so new, what I do is I do surround myself with a lot of like-minded people in the same field. So I'm in a variety of communities currently for fintech marketing, women in crypto, women in marketing, and we all share our knowledge and learn from our experience. I'm also on a lot of webinars, so this is really what I do to develop my skills is non-stop.
Sounds like you make good use of the networking and going to events and YouTube videos. And what's even better is now you're paying back by sharing some of that knowledge and skills with the next generation people who are going to be doing that. So that's brilliant.
Exactly.
So I've got another question here about digital skills. So this would be for both of you. The question is, if you could learn another digital skill, so something that you don't currently know how to do right now, what would it be? What would be another digital skill that you would like to learn? So let's go for Kent first this time.
And this might be a bit of a shocker to people, but I can't code. I'm not a coder, so I want to learn how to code, and I'm going to learn. It's kind of part of my DNA. I just pick stuff up that I want to learn, go and learn it, and then go on to the next thing. So that would be mine. I'm going to learn how to code.
Brilliant. And that's good to know as well, because it shows you that you can be head of fintech and not necessarily be a computer programmer as well.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Amelie, what would you like to learn?
Well, it's very similar to Kent. I'm actually working currently on a website, and a lot of things that I want to do need to be coded, and that makes me wish that I knew that skill. So this is something I'll definitely be developing.
Brilliant. Well, I might have a few book recommendations for you then at some point. That's great. Daniel, what else have we got?
Yeah, so let's speak a wee bit about advice for people that are looking to get started in tech or fintech. And I wonder if there's maybe one thing that you wish that you had known perhaps when you began your career, something that you would tell someone who's just thinking about getting started. So Amelie, is there is there something that you wish you'd known when you entered the industry?
Yeah, I learned it very quickly, is surround yourself and build your network. Really, don't hesitate to ask for help to people around you. This is definitely something that would be my best advice to my younger self, and my best advice to everyone else really looking to kickstart their career.
Okay, so sort of networking and speaking to people, perfect. And how about you, Kent?
I think if I was talking to my younger self, I'd tell myself probably just to relax a bit and not be anxious about what I think I don't know. Just go out there, speak to people, be inquisitive, read, ponder things, and then go and ask sensible questions of people, and don't be anxious. I spent probably the first 5 years of my career being quite anxious. I felt a little bit like I was an imposter. Oh my God, I'm in this big bank and I don't have qualifications coming out of my ears and I'm not sure I know all the answers. I was very anxious about that for a good few years, and actually it turns out there's no need to be. So, the world is challenging enough. Don't carry an anxiety into the workplace. Go in relaxed and optimistic, and that's kind of probably what I would tell my I don't know, in my late teens or early 20s, what I would tell myself.
It's brilliant. And I hope this advice is useful for people watching, then people out there thinking, I'm interested in this area, but I'm not sure about it. I don't know enough about it. I don't necessarily have these skills. I think you're both great examples of people who have obviously had an interest at some point, got into and developed as you did that. You didn't arrive fully fintech experts to begin with. It's something that grew as well. So we've got time for one more question here, and this will be, I think this could be quite a good one. So what is, I want you to think about a common myth about what it means to be working either in fintech or cryptocurrency or an area like that you would like to debunk. So what is something that, is a myth, or that people automatically assume that you would like to, this is your opportunity now to actually debunk it for us. So let's go with Amelie. Amelie.
Yeah. So I guess the myth is that in crypto we're all geeky, and we all need to learn how to code, and that's the myth that, or the assumption that people straight away have when they think of people working in cryptocurrency. Dark room, with loads of stuff. Yeah, it's not like this at all. It's actually the complete opposite. It's a very inclusive environment to work in. You can meet people from all around the world. So, I'm working with people in Singapore, in about everywhere in the world, and a lot of women actually. And the more we're going, and the more we've got initiative where we encourage women to who are curious about crypto to come and learn, and we see a really good response. Everyone is actually getting interested and want to work in the space and learn a bit more, and they're definitely not geeky.
I think you've proven that today. That's a great example of debunking. And Kent, what would you like to debunk?
Amelie made a fantastic point. I had to think on the hoof there because I was going to make the same point. So just add another one. There's a myth sometimes that fintech is all about solving complicated problems that are just in the domain of financial services. That's not true. Fintech can be at the heart of solving some of the big challenges. I'm working on some stuff at the moment. It's looking at how fintech plays a role in climate change and addressing some of the climate challenges. I sat on the board of Social Bite, the homeless charity, for 3 years, and brought to that a view on how fintech can support some of the existential challenges we have in society around homelessness and so forth. So the myth is often, you're solving a boring, dry, complicated problem in financial services. Not true. Yeah, we can do all that, but you can also actually apply it to some real world challenges.
Yeah, and knowing that the type of people who've been watching our stuff here, they're always interested in other topics, what's going on in the world, climate change. We've had some questions in like that as well, so it's good to know that as you say, fintech isn't necessarily just about helping big businesses or banks. This is about helping lots of different.
Totally. I'm doing a project with the World Bank at the moment, looking at how fintech can be used to develop sustainable finance. I mean, how cool is that? And that's got nothing to do with complicated technical underpinnings. That's about solving a proper challenge that exists in the world. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that. So that's a myth that sometimes sits out there that's hopefully now debunked.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ken and Amelie. This has been brilliant this morning. We've had loads of responses. I know people have been sending in their congratulations as well, but I just wanted to say thank you both for joining us today.
Oh, really happy. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Bill.
Daniel.
So thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, what am I saying? Thank you very much for joining us today and sending in your questions. We are coming to you over YouTube, so it'd be a missed opportunity not to tell you to like the video, subscribe, because then that means more people are going to be able to see it in future, and it means you'll get to hear about any of the future Meet the Expert sessions that we're running. But for now, it's bye from Ken and Amelie.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me. See you next time.